The spiritual battle is coming to the West. And the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life. And the American way of life is very simple. I want to be able to get married, buy a home, have kids, allow them to ride their bike till the sun goes down, send them to a good school, have a low crime neighborhood, not to have my kid be taught the lesbian, gay, transgender garbage in their school, while also not having them have to hear the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day. That's important. We want the American way of life, which is, by the way, Christendom. Christians, our sacrifice, our toil, our vision, the outgrowth of the scriptures gave us Western civilization. And this is where I think is a great rallying cry. Doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, doesn't matter if you're Asian, doesn't matter if you're black or white. Everybody, if you are Christian and Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, these two threats are combining forces to come after us. And it's time that the church stands and rises up against it.
Yep. Today is a dark day in America. It is a day that demands moral clarity. A day that demands justice, not just for the man we lost, but for the idea we must all defend. The idea of free speech, open debate, and the safety of those who dare to speak the truth as they see it. I'm sure you guys have heard it. Charlie Kirk is dead. Just yesterday, being September 10th, 2025, thousands of people, mostly college students from Utah Valley University, gathered at the university courtyard to hear a debate, an open forum, a deliberation of ideas. Charlie Kirk, who was founder of the Turning Point USA, a conservative voice among youth, a great patriot, a defender of free speech, a Christian, a young father, was speaking under a tent as part of his American comeback tour. He was 20 minutes into his event when a single shot rang out from a building some 200 yards away. Charlie was struck in the neck. The bullet pierced open his carotid artery, and he fell from his chair. Guys, if you watched the video, you will see blood oozing out of his neck with great force. Like, the chilling video of his assassination surfaced exactly 1 hour after I posted my last video on Irina Zarutska, showing the full video of her brutal massacre. I was trying to rectify some of the issues I had with that video because it has been age restricted by this platform, okay? When I was informed that Charlie has been shot. Now, when I watched that video, and no, I'm not going to show that video here because already I'm in big trouble with this platform, okay? So I'm not trying to make them more angry. The last video I posted about the Ukrainian girl got me into a lot of trouble. Now, when I watched that video, I know he wasn't going to survive it. But then, I still had hope. I was hoping for a miracle. But shortly after the news of his shooting broke, it was confirmed that he succumbed to his injuries after being rushed to the hospital.
Stop! Stop, folks! Stop! Back up! Where is he? Amy! Go!
Currently, the shooter has not been identified, but authorities are on the hunt for this particular horrible individual. Now, guys, make no mistake. This is more than a crime, okay? This is more than killing a young conservative dad. It is an attack on free speech, a political violence, a direct attack to the principle that in a free society, even unpopular ideas, even loud dissenting voices deserve a chance to be heard without fear of assassination. Now, Charlie Kirk was just 31 years old, but by 31, he had become a force to be reckoned with. He made some enemies, but also he made many followers, okay? Followers of Christ, believers in the Christian faith, believers in freedom of speech, patriotic individuals who loved their country, free thinkers. He engaged with topics that too many people were too afraid to even mention. Religion, war, gender identity, culture, politics, you name it. He invited the criticisms. He was more than willing to debate ideas. He encouraged young people to question the narrative, to think out of the box, and live a morally fulfilling life. To many conservatives, he was a mentor, maybe not in person, but his speeches, his media presence, his rallies, his debates, the fact that he was able to say what he said inspired young people who felt marginalized or silenced, whether in the classroom or in cultural institutions. Guys, I was one of those young people whose lives he impacted, and that is why I feel deeply saddened by the news of his assassination. So yeah, he was a force to reckon with, and in that sense, his death is more than personal. It is political. It is symbolic of something deeper. The diminishing space for bold voices. The fear that stepping on stage might put you at risk. The fear that you may lose your life for just speaking out. Now, that was never supposed to be part of political activism in America. But that is what just happened with Charlie Kirk. Now, after what I saw happen in the case of Irina Zarutska, of how the liberal mainstream media refused to even cover the story until 2 weeks after people started calling them out on their hypocrisy, I no longer see them worthy of being listened to. But seeing how they responded to the assassination of Charlie Kirk have even solidified my resolve not to even take them seriously any longer. Listen to what this guy said. By the way, he is an MSNBC analyst. Listen.
Yeah, and again, I emphasize what you just emphasized. We don't know any of the full details of this. That we don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration, or so we have no idea about this. But following up what was just said, he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. And I think that's the environment we're in, that people just, you can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and not expect awful actions to take place.
Matt.
And that's the unfortunate environment we're
in which a shooting like this happens.
Yeah, and again, I emphasize what you just emphasized. We don't know any of the full details of this. That we don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration, or so we have no idea.
Excuse me? A supporter's gun going off in celebration? You do not hate the mainstream media on the left enough. We don't. So one perfect shot that likely hits him in his carotid artery. He falls over with blood splurting out of his neck. We're going to say that might have been just one of his fans just celebrating. Not multiple shots, one shot placed essentially perfectly. Now, I think you could argue the shooter was aiming for his head and it went low and hit him in the neck, but either way, it was one precise shot that hit him in the neck. And MSNBC has someone up here talking about it could have been one of his supporters celebrating with a gunshot. These people are despicable. They're trying to preserve some ounce of narrative control, praying this wasn't someone who agrees with them. The most likely thing would be someone taking precise aim at him and pulling the trigger. He could have said something like, yes, someone likely deliberately aimed that gun at him and pulled the trigger. Instead, he tried to play it off as, well, someone could have been celebrating. These people are pathetic. He could have admitted, hey, this could be a radical. Someone who's been radicalized and hates conservatives and MAGA. He could have mentioned that, but of course not. He's not going to say that. These people and organizations need to be called out repeatedly.
You just watched that horrible man justify the killing of an innocent man in cold blood just because he thinks that his opinions are awful. So we should normalize terminating people with dissenting opinions because, well, their opinions are awful. This is MSNBC, by the way, and they claim to be unbiased. They claim they are just reporting the truth. MSNBC analyst Matthew Dodd said on air that Charlie's divisive speech was part of the environment that leads to hateful action. He implied that Charlie's words were what led to his assassination. Can you imagine that? The fact that we are supposed to debate whether his speech was bad or not before condemning the murder is where we've lost it as a society. And it is deeply disappointing. And of course, we have liberal creators rejoicing and celebrating the killing of an unarmed young man.
Yes, he deserves to die, and I hope he burns in hell. And I really don't want to hear any moral superiority from the people who were just laughing about undocumented immigrants getting eaten up by alligators. Okay.
Breaking news. Charlie Kirk was in the neck. As of right now, I think his condition is unknown. And there are a lot of people that are like, no matter what side of politics you're on, you should never celebrate something bad happening to someone. I, on the other hand, do cheer when bad things happen to bad people. So on behalf of everybody else, I got this shit. I don't know if he's gonna make a recovery or not. I don't know what his condition is. It just happened as I'm filming this. I saw the video of it happening. I do not feel bad for him in the slightest, and I'm very, very much wondering what MAGA is going to react with. I wonder how they're going to make this about how black people shouldn't be allowed guns, or trans people. They're probably going to blame a trans black person. I don't fuck. But we can all celebrate because something really awful happened to a really, really awful guy. And again, if you're one of those dipshit people that are like, no matter what happens, you should never wish death on some... I'm gonna cheer and dance and sing. Thank you very much.
Liberalism is a cult at this point, because I don't understand how you can justify their reaction to this unfortunate incident. Anyway, but the most disappointing thing is that these guys don't even seem to know what they are advocating for, okay? They don't even know what they are rejoicing over. They are totally ignorant and brainwashed. They never stop to think, oh, what if this was me? Or what if this was my loved one? They never think for a moment what it would be like if it were their voice, if they had something to say, something that made some people uncomfortable, if their ideas or their opinions were contested. What protection do they have? What courage must they show just to stand up and speak? Because if the response to a bunch of opinions they do not like is to assassinate the individual voicing that opinion, then where does that leave us, right? Because I'm sure that there are many people out there who would also disagree with their own opinions. Now, does that mean that they should also be shot when they are least expecting it? Please make it make sense. Talk about a bunch of morons that don't even realizing that by celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination, they are inadvertently celebrating their own death. They are openly cheering for a killer and encouraging others to kill people that they disagree with. Again, this is an attack on free speech. They don't want you to voice your opinion, because in this moment, many free thinkers, young people, conservatives across America are looking, worrying, wondering if it is still safe for them to speak up. They are wondering, do I have to watch my back even when I believe I'm speaking the truth? And this is exactly what they want you to do, to keep you afraid, to get you scared, to prevent you from speaking out against the madness. We owe it to Charlie Kirk not to let fear win, to not let his death be just another news cycle that passes. We owe it to him to make his legacy live on, his legacy of courage, to continued fighting, not with guns, but with ideas and with our words. We demand justice. We demand they should be found and held accountable. We demand meaningful protection for public speakers. We demand that free speech means something, that colleges, the media, law enforcement should do more than post condolences on the internet. They must ensure safety. They must ensure respect. They must ensure that speech, even controversial speech, is protected and not punished. My deepest condolences goes to Charlie Kirk's family, to his wife Erica, and to his children. May the Lord grant you peace. And also to all of us who believe in free speech. May we show up even when it is hard. May we not be afraid, and may we have the courage to say things that we need to say. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. Your voice changed lives. Your courage inspired millions, and your legacy will never be silenced. And to the haters, to the cowards, the ones who cheered over his death, this is my message for you. You may have stopped the man, but you have only made his movement stronger. Charlie Kirk is gone, but believe me, his message is not.
How do you want to be remembered?
If I die?
Everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith.
Charlie Kirk, thank you so much.
You guys do a great job.